Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Ethereum, and we're going to be taking another look at short-term price predictions based on historical moves. Okay, based on nothing more than historical moves. If you guys like the content, subscribe. Let's get to 90,000 subscribers. Give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So we were following Ethereum last night on live stream. We were around this point or so, I believe, maybe even a little bit further back. I can't remember exactly. But we have, in fact, broken out again, and we're pushing $1,200 per Ether, okay? So the local top on this exchange is $11.95. One of the things we like to take a look at, again, is the Ether Bitcoin valuation. Now, this is key. You know, if you're ever wondering, besides Ether USD, if you're new to this space, what can you look at to give you even more insight? It's Ether Bitcoin. And we spent months discussing, so much in fact, so many months discussing the idea behind an Ether move against Bitcoin in January. Who remembers it, right? Remember the end of December. We're already up 50%. Already up 50%. Seems like we might even have more room to go. So one of the things we want to do is we want to put back on our 20-month and 50-month moving averages. Okay, so these are weeks. Let me switch this over to months. We have our 20-month and our 50-month. Well, why is this important? Again, as we said, the 20-month should hold in a bull market. We would expect this to hold, and that's what we discussed for a long time. At the same time, the 50-month, as we found in the summer, was our identic top. So clearly that would be a focus point, right? Would be the 50-month moving average. Now, that's not to say we can't go above it. We could cut through it like butter and not look back. The point is to say, once we reach this level, it would be a significant milestone. And this level, the 50-month moving average, has continued to move up. So, for instance, the 50-month right now is at 0.04159, okay? So, 0.04159. Now, where is the current price of Bitcoin? The current price of Bitcoin is at 35K. We know that it's not invariant, it will change, but at $35,000 per Bitcoin, that would put Ether at 1455, which again, coincidentally, is the prior all-time high, more or less. Okay, it is the prior all-time high, around 1420. It depends on the exchange, of course, but around that level, give or take a few bucks, right? What's a few bucks among friends? So with that in mind, that would be an obvious target, right? That would be an obvious target, would be that level corresponding to the prior all-time high of Ether USD, and also getting back to the area we were in the summer of 2020. So from here, the other thing we can do is we want to put on our bull market support. Now, this one is pretty much irrelevant, I think, for the most part, for Ether Bitcoin valuations, because we don't really tend to respect it like we do with Ether USD and Bitcoin USD. You know, if we switch this over to, say, a weekly time frame, auto this out, and then put on our support band, it does tend to respect it in a bull market. You know, in corrections, right? Corrections tend to respect this level. We get below it, it's the bad news bears, and then it becomes resistance, and then we get into our accumulation phase where we are, where we're just kind of oscillating around it, right? And then back into bull market mode, and holding it as support. We started to get close to it, and then we've propelled back upward. And we expected, Ethereum to make this parabolic move because it's essentially following in Bitcoin's footsteps. If we plot on the bull market support for Bitcoin, we can see a pretty similar move, right? We've been following this move for months. Up and then sideways into the band, up, sideways back down, and then up. A significant move up. For Ethereum, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. Up, sideways into the band, up, back down into the band, and then back up. And this move was delayed, right? Bitcoin was stealing the show for a while, but Ether is back, right? Ether's back. January tends to be Ether's time to shine. Hold on to this feeling, right? Hold on to it. This type of move is not going to last the whole year, but just remember that when you are coming from the depths of despair, which often happens in December, that things can shift on a dime, right? On a dime. Now, one of the things we'll do is the last time we made a video on short-term price predictions for Ether, we were at around 740 or so. And we're going to be looking at the same stuff in this video. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the log of the price over the 20-week moving average. And back then, we weren't even above the prior extension from the 2019 top. We've passed that. Okay, now we're up to 0.81. This is a log of the price divided by the 20-week moving average. Now, if we go up to the level of overvaluation from the 20-week as measured in January, it would imply a valuation of 1.04. Overvaluation from the 20-week. Okay, so if we're taking the log of the price and we're saying the 20-week moving average, well, what's the 20-week moving average for Ether right now? Well, we can see that is in fact 525. So we're going to put in 525, and then we want it to equal approximately 1.04. This would get us to the same level of overvaluation from the 20-week as we were in January. Where would that put us? It would put us at 1485. So in order for Ether to reach this point, it would put us close to $1,500. Now, one thing to take into mind and to keep in consideration is that the prior top, it depends on the 20-week, right? We know it depends on the 20-week SMA, and the 20-week SMA right now is monotonically moving up. So in a week, the 20-week could be closer to 540. Let's say 550, because Ether's moving up quickly. It's 550 or so. If it moves up there, then we could be looking at, say, a $1,556 Ether just to get to the same level of extension from the 20-week as we were in January of 2018. If we continue further back and look at levels of overextension we have reached in the past, the next obvious one would be June of 2017. Of course, remember that if we were to go to these levels, the 20-week moving average will take it'll be moving up as well, and there's not a great chance that we go up to this level of overvaluation in, say, like a few days, right? It would probably take weeks to get there if the move can be sustained for that long. So if it could be sustained for that long, it would correspond here to about 1.45, 1.46. Let's go with 1.45. And let's say the 20-week moving average in a few weeks might be closer to $650. So if we were to reach the same level of extension from the 20-week, and we have the 20-week at $650 as measured back then it would put us at a $2,700 Ether. That gives you an idea of how quickly things can change in the crypto market. Now, of course, we're not saying anything about the idea that it has to go to these levels. I would urge people to be very cautious. I'm not personally buying Ether anymore. If you guys know me, I'm a huge Ether bull. I expect better returns out of Ether than I do Bitcoin. But with that said, chasing Ether to $1,200 when it was $700 like a week ago, and $400 a few months ago, it's always about your risk-adjusted returns. Now, if you're new to the market and you just want to get in on the action, then of course it's more so speculative short-term gambling. And again, you don't need crypto to do that. If you're an investor and you've been investing in Ether for a long time, which I know a lot of you have been, then you're now reaping the rewards. And the great thing about it is if you were accumulating Ether at 100, 200, 300 on the channel like we were discussing for a long period of time, you're already up, maybe up to 10x at this point, maybe even a little bit more, depending on exactly when you got in. So now that Ether is moving up to this level, and sorry, I'm just looking at the price right now. I wish I was on live stream. We're at $11.99. But because Ether is moving up this quickly, we know that things can, it has a way of making the past, people kind of forget that, okay, we were just at $400, we were just at $500, but then things can get out of hand really quickly. We can have this amazing, spectacular blow-off peak. We don't know where it is, of course, but even though we don't know where it is, sorry, I'm getting a call. Even though we don't know where it is, we're able to speculate on where it could go based on prior levels of overextension. Okay, so at this point, would I chase Ether? I would not. Do I want and think the price will go up? I do. Okay, there's a lot of misconceptions about when Ben stops buying it. Does that mean that he doesn't expect it to go up. No, I stopped buying it a few $100s ago, in fact, and I'm still happy with my decision. We're looking at a $1,200 Ether almost. Hopefully we can get on the road to a $1,400 Ether in the not so distant future. So the other thing to look at might be the Ether Bitcoin levels that we've seen in the past, right? So one of the things to note, of course, the 50-month moving average is a key area to look at, but again, there's a good chance we're able to blow past that as well. We've been to levels of Ether Bitcoin valuations higher than 0.041, 042. We've been much higher. So we want to keep an eye on this. Remember, when we were back over here, we discussed this as being the reaccumulation phase of Ether Bitcoin. Okay, so in terms of Ether Bitcoin, I would say this is the reaccumulation phase, but we could be in here for a long time. It doesn't mean we can't come up and then come back down, but I do feel like we will be flirting with these levels for quite some time, namely between around 0.027 up to around 0.043. But again, in the same manner that we came below, it doesn't mean we can't go above and then come back down or something. So there's a lot of money to be made in these markets. I want everyone to be responsible. We're taking a look here to see if we can pass $1,200. I want everyone to be responsible. Don't squander this opportunity. Be responsible. Don't bet the family farm. Of course, this is not financial advice, but protecting yourself with, say, stop orders, stop limits, stop loss, that type of stuff is very important in my opinion. Yes, you can get stopped out on wicks, and it will probably happen. But as I've said before, you won't go broke taking profits. And even if you're selling a small amount or putting in a stop, I'm not saying market sell necessarily, but even if you're putting in a stop for some percentage below the current price, even if it's a small amount, you can be happy about that, right? Because of the fact that you probably have 10x on a lot of that. And remember, I scale things dynamically and linearly so that the higher sells come at the end. So if you guys want to follow what I'm doing, check out the premium list in the description below, intothe-cryptoverse.com. We have weekly reports, weekly videos, the Telegram alerts channel where I put out my candid thoughts on the market all the time. I give you guys updates on what I'm doing. We have the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, which shows us the various ways in which we can trade between assets, and a few other things. So check it out. Subscribe to the channel at the very least. Let's go for 90,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for tuning in. Give the video a thumbs up. We'll see you next time. We'll see if we're closing in on a $1,400 Ether. There's a decent chance we go live in a little bit too. So thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.